Alright, so this is my audience. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, is abortion the right thing to do if you accidentally become pregnant, or should you look at the other options that are not only safer and less selfish, they are morally right? Sadly, a woman's first choice is abortion. According to the National Abortion Agency, every 22 seconds, a baby dies from abortion. The Roe v. Wade decision in 1973 legalized that a woman, along with her doctor, could choose abortion in earlier months of the pregnancy without any form of restriction, but in later months, they would have limitations. When a woman has an unplanned pregnancy, it normally ends in the death of a child because the mother sees abortion as their only option. Unexpected pregnancies normally end in the death of an innocent child. Not only is it morally wrong, inhumane, and unsafe, it is also a very selfish act to do. Abortion is ethically wrong because according to Dr. Peter Danforth, during the first 4 weeks of a woman's pregnancy, the woman's nervous system, or the baby's nervous system, forms as well as the heart and circulatory system. He also stated that an estimated 1.21 million abortions take place in America every single year. So obviously, with a baby having, its heart's beating, it has a circulatory system. The baby is obviously a living being, even though it's being supported off the mother. It's just like if you have a baby in the first few weeks, if you just left it to fend for itself, it's obviously going to die. It needs the mother to survive. Same in this case. So not only is abortion ethically wrong, it's also morally wrong. When there's a baby alive and living in the mother, having an abortion is ultimately just like killing a baby. Most of the mothers who have had one abortion continue to have more because they use this as a form of contraception. So they use it as a form of birth control just because it's the easiest way to do it instead of using the pill and having to remember to take that or to put the O-ring in you or whatever you got to do. They've just eliminated that and just went right to having abortions. So I don't think abortion should be used as a form of contraception just because it's morally and ethically wrong. It's also, abortion is also unnecessary because there are adoption agencies all over the world that would take care of children until they match the child with a good family that can take care of all of their needs. The Dayton Right to Life Society took a poll and found that there are currently 2 million couples awaiting to adopt a child. And that's just in America. And that's while there are only 50,000 babies that are placed for adoption every year. So you have the 1.21 million babies that are aborted every year, and then we have the 2 million couples that are trying to adopt babies currently in America. For women who demand complete control of their body, control should include preventing the risk of unwanted pregnancy through the responsible use of contraception, or if that is not possible, through abstinence. I believe that if a woman is if she's mature enough to have sex, then she should be mature enough to have a baby and take care of it. Same with the man. It's not just all the woman's fault, but it's half the woman's, half the man's fault, and so they both need to be responsible if they're having sex. So there's about 2 different types of legal abortions that doctors are using to abort babies. One is being the surgical method. So according to Dr. Suzanne Truppin, the surgical technique is a popular way to have an abortion. It's when the fetus is growing in the mother, the baby's growing, it's developing its parts, the heart's pumping, everything's going, and they go into the mother using some surgical instruments, and it's got a suction tube at the end, and it starts to suck the baby apart in the fetus, and even in the containers that are where they dispose of in the containers, there's actual parts that you can find that you can see like little hands and little feet, and so it's not just some little alien that's growing in you or some little mush or whatever you want to call it. It's an actual baby that's growing inside of you. So she also states that medical abortions are safer than having an abortion on your own, but it's still unsafe to have abortions either way, obviously, because the process of a medical abortions involve bleeding. They're often like a heavy menstrual period, which must be differentiated from like a hemorrhage, which is just a lot of bleeding, because that's obviously just a severe medical issue. Medical abortions can provide some measure of safety in that they eliminate the risk of injury to a woman's cervix or uterines from surgical instruments. An abortion can result in medical complications later in life. The risk of ectopic pregnancy doubles, and the chances of miscarriages and pelvic inflammatory disease can also increase. Additionally, abortion is normally a very selfish act to do and accounts for 90% of all abortions. According to the National Abortion Agency, women are haunted for the rest of their lives after having one, just because of the mental effects from, if they had the medical abortion, they're seeing all the bleeding and they're seeing the parts of their baby just, discharged. They're also seeing, if they get sucked out, they can also see some of those parts and pieces of the baby that are being discharged. So as a mother seeing that coming out of them, it has very crucial mental effects on them, and it can affect them through their lives. Abortion frequently causes intense psychological pain and stress, just because they're stressing about it. They're blaming themselves for the baby, or the death of their baby, and they just start to have psychological issues because of it. So, there are obviously pros and cons to every decision that you make, just like, they don't have to obviously deal with the pain for the food and the shelter and the clothing of the baby, but they're going to have all of these psychological issues afterwards. That's probably not worth it, especially when there's other options available like adoption, where they can just, put the baby up for adoption and it'll go to a good family that, can't always have a baby. Many of the women who choose the abortion route have to live with the decision that they make. The woman should be sad if they killed their baby. In the instance of rape and incest, proper medical care can ensure that a woman will not get pregnant. Abortion punishes the unborn child who committed no crime. Instead, it is the perpetrator or the one who had the sex, who raped you, who should be punished instead of the baby. Those who choose abortions are often minors or young women with insufficient life experience to understand fully what they are doing. Many have lifelong regrets afterwards, as I explained earlier. So therefore, abortions must not be an accepted alternative in America, or for that reason in all of the world. Ultimately, it is the woman's choice in the end, but that is because society has made it that way. Everyone likes to say that it is the woman's body, she can do with it what she wants, which is true. But what about the baby living inside of her? Doesn't that baby also have some rights? It is the baby's body you are destroying after all. That is where it should not be the mother's choice, at least in most circumstances, because it usually is half of the mother's fault for being pregnant. Therefore, they shouldn't just take someone else's life because of their bad decisions. Abortion is obviously a very brutal act to proceed with. The mother needs to think about what the right thing to do is, why abortion is not a good alternative, and to stop thinking just about themselves. Women need to accept the responsibility of making a child and honor the child's life by going through with the pregnancy. If they are incapable or not ready to have a child, they should choose the adoption route and save the child's life. So that's my speech. There's my audience, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's a wrap.